What is going on, my peeps? Man, Versatile is back with another video. Back here to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Yes, I am driving to work. I've been thinking about this movie over the past few days since I saw a preview night on Thursday. What a movie. What a fantastic movie. After the hype settled down and I really started thinking about it, I realized that this movie, for me, I'm going to come straight out with my rating. 9.5 out of 10. At first, I was 20 out of 10 because I was super hyped seeing it, just trying to digest everything that I saw. Shout out to Marvel for such a great movie. They're really good at setting up future plot twists and plot moments and just different TV shows and movies with their content. So shout out to Marvel for that, because No Way Home set up a ton. So before we get into the video, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, make sure you hit all notifications for all, so that way you catch my videos and my live streams. All right, now let's get into the video. What were some of the things that I appreciated? Well, the first couple minutes here is going to be straight up spoiler free, right? Just a couple minutes of just saying my thoughts as I've already been doing, and then I'll let you guys know. I'll even put like spoilers ahead, so that way you guys know I'm attacking the spoilers. All right. This movie was fantastic. It was great. It was very well paced. It was almost as long as Endgame, and yet I do feel like No Way Home was better paced than Endgame. I understand and respect Endgame's pace, so it's no shot at Endgame. And I honestly find Endgame to be a true 10 out of 10 movie. And so in terms of the top three movies for me from Marvel, it would be Infinity War, Endgame, and then No Way Home. So No Way Home is like my third favorite movie that Marvel has dropped. With that out of the way, I love Tom Holland's performance. He really proved to me he could be Spider-Man, and now that he can be an older Spider-Man going forward, hopefully do some type of a time skip so they can get a little closer to his actual age, because he's had to play a kid, like basically 10 years, I don't want to say 10 years, but like anywhere between 5 and 10 years younger than what he really is. And thankfully he looks like he's still a high schooler, but he's like 25, 26 in real life. So for him, hopefully they can time skip a little bit. You know, I believe he may be in college, so maybe it won't be a big time skip by the end of this, of course. But in terms of his performance, it was beautiful. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, amazing. I love what they did with him. I also loved Willem Dafoe's Goblin in this. Oh my goodness, it was more terrifying than Tobey Maguire's Sam Raimi. And he was terrifying in that too. But it's just Willem Dafoe's acting was spectacular. And then Jamie Foxx. What else can we say about Jamie Foxx? I mean, he was in here, jokes were landing, they were hitting. It did seem like he was much more of a comical version of himself, as opposed to the Electro that we knew from Amazing Spider-Man. But in terms of the performances, they were great. I loved Aunt May in this. I loved everything that they Doctor Strange, a beast. He's like the go-to for everything. You know what I'm saying? So for me, now that the first few minutes are done, this movie is great. 9.5 out of 10. And I'll explain why it's missing that extra 0.5 of a point. Spoilers right now. Oh my goodness. They put the cameo in there for Charlie Cox's Daredevil from Netflix. He is representing, or would have represented, Peter Parker as his lawyer. So first of all, what an amazing idea to show us that they're going to include Netflix's Daredevil, which gives me hopes that they're going to include the Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, and hopefully Luke Cage specifically will have better writing, because Mike Coulter looks like Luke Cage, and he was very good. He was really good as Luke Cage in the first season, and the second season fell off. Jessica Jones, first season was amazing, second season was alright, third season was better. And then I hope they just completely replace Iron Fist. And Daredevil, for the most part, all 3 seasons were good. I enjoyed the second season, and I haven't actually got to watch the third season yet, so I'm actually going to go and watch that, because now I see that there's some level of repercussions with that, because Hawkeye has now, well, I wouldn't say officially, but through a picture has shown that the Kingpin from Netflix's Daredevil is in Hawkeye. So it looks like they could easily set up the Defenders, Daredevil, potentially even Spider-Man helping out on the TV screen as well on Disney+. They've done a tremendous and fabulous job with incorporating that, bringing in aspects of Marvel that we actually all like and that did well into the MCU. So that I appreciated, with Charlie Cox's cameo and catching the brick, which was hilarious. And I almost felt like they could have did a little bit more, or even showed him in his Daredevil outfit at some point, maybe peering on from afar, like maybe at the very end of the movie, or like part of a post-credit scene or something like that. But that was amazing. I love how they used Goblin to be the ringleader for the almost Sinister Six, because there were 5 people here: Sandman, Electro, Goblin, oh boy, Lizard, and Doc Ock. So there was 5 people right there. Now, the reason why I lose it as a 0.5 out of 10 is because there was an immediate plot hole about why the heroes ended up coming over to heroes and villains, you could say, coming over to this universe, to Tom Holland's universe, because it was all the people that knew Spider-Man. So for this Electro to be over here, he would have had to know who Peter Parker was. But this Electro did not know who Peter Parker was, because I don't remember. And that's where, like, I should have watched Amazing Spider-Man 2, because what Doctor Strange was trying to do, erase people's memories, basically reverse the idea and turn it into anybody who knew who Peter Parker was trying to branch over into the universe. So it wasn't that the people knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, it was the fact that it was people who knew who Peter Parker was. So if Electro or Max really did get introduced to Peter Parker introduced himself, because I thought maybe he ran into him in an elevator scene in Amazing Spider-Man 2, then that would not be a plot hole, and maybe from that perspective I would immediately give it a 10 out of 10, because if it's a plot hole, I don't like plot holes, even though it still worked for the movie, because Electro, the villain aspect, worked very well. Electro was on and off with whether or not he wanted to help out Spider-Man. Doc Ock being redeemed in the way that he was able to control his tentacles again. I love that. I also loved I love Sandman, even though Sandman didn't necessarily need to be in this either, because he really didn't do anything. And it was interesting that they didn't use the actor, but until like the very last scene. Even then, I think the last scene was a scene from Spider-Man 3 when he ended up materializing from sand back to human. So that was interesting. And he didn't die either. That was another plot hole. It was like the people, all these villains, the reason why Peter Parker didn't want to send these villains back was because they were going to die at the hands of Spider-Man, basically. Well, the Lizard didn't die at Andrew Garfield's hands, and Sandman didn't die at Tobey Maguire's hands. In fact, Lizard was healed, and although one could argue maybe he wasn't completely healed, there was still a little bit of Lizard about him maybe. He didn't die. He was in prison, and then, as I said before, Sandman went off into the sunset, you know, when Tobey Maguire helped him with his family or whatever. So they didn't die, and yet they were brought over from that. So it was a little wonky from that perspective. But with all that being said, it was still a great. All of it tied together very well. The fight scenes were amazing with him and Doc and the nanotech, and then Peter Parker trying to heal everybody, which was amazing. Willem Dafoe and Tom Holland's fight choreography and the fight scenes were so visceral and so real. It felt like there was more weight in the fight scenes than usual. I mean, it was just so good. Oh, please don't close. So from that perspective, I really liked how all that turned out. Oh, okay, nice. So in terms of that was great. I loved how, like, well, first of all, it was very sad that they had to kill off Aunt May, right? That was very, very sad that they had to kill off Aunt May. And the way they did it, they fooled us at first, because when she got hit by the glider, you're thinking she's still alive because she popped back up. But then you notice, oh, maybe she's going to have brain damage, or maybe she's just really hurt and she needs to go to the hospital. And she hit the stellar scene. With great power comes great responsibility. Ooh. And the way she said it was different. It was like, but with that great power, it must come a great responsibility, something like that. And then she collapsed and died, and it was so sad. And then the Department of Damage Control came in and started straight shooting at Peter, and it was like, yo, he just lost his aunt right now. He was even confused at what happened. Then they had this very cinematic, beautiful, but very sad, just full of melancholy, just this scene of Peter Parker standing in front of this big screen with J. Jonah Jameson hammering it home that Spider-Man was a menace, everything was Spider-Man's fault. He's just sitting there dazed, stoic, because he just lost he just lost everybody. You know what I'm saying? He just lost his aunt. So right when that happens, you know, Ned and MJ are trying to find Spider-Man. Doctor Strange had given Ned this, well, it's not that he gave it to him. Spider-Man and Doctor Strange got into a fight. Spider-Man used math to figure out how to work the mirror dimension to beat Doctor Strange, and in so doing took his little portal ring, gave it to Ned. Ned was looking for Spider-Man. I wish we knew where Spider-Man was. I wish Spider-Man was here. I wish Spider-Man was here. And then they get an image of Spider-Man coming in a dark alley, and everybody's like, I know that ain't who I think it is. He comes running through. Andrew Garfield showed up. Andrew Garfield showed up as Spider-Man. That was so perfect. And that was like my favorite Spider-Man, was Andrew Garfield. Great acting. His acting was even better in this. The way he was in his emotions, being able to recall how his pain. And Andrew Garfield's a dude, man. I really wish he could have came over to the MCU. So upon doing that, they tried again, trying to find, you know, their Spider-Man, and then Tobey Maguire pops up in street clothes. And then Andrew Garfield and Tobey have a quick little pew pew moment to figure out who each other are, and then they realize they're Spider-Man. So then they go find Tom Holland. He's sad. They all have this huddle up moment of, well, Ned and MJ crying and embracing him. And that was sad. What is this lady doing here? Someone parking in a, that's not even a parking spot. But just sad moment, sad moment. And then Tom Holland, spider sense goes off. He realizes other people here, and it's Tobey and Andrew. They have a moment of sharing each other's pain and experiences and what they learn and how they're synced together despite the multiverse aspect. They all had to go through certain types of pain. And I thought that was beautifully illustrated with each member, you know, displaying their emotion, their acting, their ability to recall stuff that we knew about them. So it really helped us still stay connected to these Spider-Men. And then they go to the lab to try to figure out all the cures they can for all the villains. That was a funny moment, funny scene of all the Peters and Ned screaming, "Hey, Peter," and they're all reacting and everything. And then Ned and Tobey Maguire have a conversation about him having a best friend, but how Tobey Maguire's best friend turned on him and tried to kill him and ended up dying in his arms, and it scared the life out of Ned, and Ned had freaked out and then told Tom Holland, "I'll never turn on you and kill you." Like, they had comedy that followed right up traumatic moments that worked. Like, you're crying or tearing up and still laughing at the same time. So great directing, great scripting by John Watts. He directed all 3 of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, so good job there. The ending, right before they fight, they all suit up, they all sharing their moments about villains they fought. Andrew Garfield feels lame because he didn't have no like legit villains, and then Tobey Maguire being the mentor, being the older Spider-Man, helping both Spider-Man deal with their multiverse essentially. And I like that. I liked Tobey Maguire's presence in this because he did feel like the mentor. He was there to help build both of the Spider-Man up, primarily Tom Holland, of course, but he was there as the older, well-established Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield really passed the baton off to Tom Holland. Hey, man, this is what we do. You know, that was Andrew Garfield passing on the baton, which was very appropriate because he was the last Spider-Man we had before Tom Holland. So passing that Spidey baton on to Tom Holland, and then they go out there, out of sync, fighting the villains, going after the strongest villain first, which doesn't make no sense to me. Then they had to come back together, try to regroup, try to figure out how to fight as a team. Tom Holland throws in there he used to fight with the Avengers, and then they all confused because they don't know who the Avengers or what the Avengers are or what it is. Andrew Garfield thinks it's a band, so hilarious scene there. Then they go out there zipping and pew-pewing with each other, using each other. Just you would never thought we were gonna get this on screen, live action, and then we do. And it brought back the Into the Spider-Verse vibes. They fight the villains, and then, you know, they think they won because they settled everybody, but then Goblin comes through and knocks MJ off, and she's falling. Tom Holland dives to go get her. Goblin's glider catches Tom Holland, and then Andrew Garfield has to go down and save MJ, and he saves MJ and realizes in that moment how he could have saved Gwen. And you just saw the rush of emotions hit him in that moment when he asked MJ, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "Yeah." And then he's just breaking down right there, just realizing the flashback of Gwen also. So it was like twofold. He realized how he could have saved Gwen, and then the fact that Gwen died in his arm, well, was dead prior to him having her in his arms. And then MJ asking him, "Are you okay?" And he was like, you know, he shook it off and said, yeah. And then, you know, Tom Holland and Goblin face off. And you talk about another visceral, crazy fight where Tom Holland was pulling no punches, wailing off on Goblin, and then was about to take out Goblin with his glider. And Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield nod at each other. And Tobey runs out there and stops Tom Holland from taking the glider and impaling Goblin. And then Tobey and Tom Holland are sharing this eye-to-eye connection real quick before, you know, inevitably Goblin stabs Tobey Maguire in the back and he falls. But it was like a perfect distraction for Andrew Garfield to throw Tom Holland the cure for Willem Dafoe and inject it into Goblin, so Goblin went away. The split personality thing went off and Willem Dafoe returned to Norman Osborn. His great acting was in this because he had to go all over the place, from being a scared person, because in Tom Holland's world, there is no Norman Osborn, there's no Oscorp, he does not exist, so he's scared from that perspective. Then he had to play Norman Osborn being smart, being a scientist, and then he had to play crazy Goblin, and he just exuded excellence in terms of his acting, so that was great. At the end of the movie, you know, of course, they finished, Doctor Strange has to cast everybody forgets who Peter Parker is, so Peter Parker is alone. With his aunt also dying, he is completely alone. No one knows who he is now, and he hasn't told nobody. He was going to tell his friends, but he changed their mind when he realized how happy they were living their life, and he didn't have to be a part of it. So that was great. And then we get the post-credit scene, mid-credit scene of Venom. Tom Hardy, you know, ended up getting brought over here briefly before he got zipped back out, but a piece of Venom was left in the world, which means we could get a more comic accurate portrayal of Venom, symbiote Spider-Man in the MCU, which is great. Then the post-credit scene of Doctor Strange pops up. The post-credit scene is of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. It's a straight-up teaser trailer, and it looks like What If is live action, because it looks like the world's melting away like it was in episode 4 of What If for Doctor Strange. And then you got I think her name was Christine, but Rachel McAdams is in here getting married, but it's not to Doctor Strange. And Mordo's back. You hear things being said. America Chavez, or Miss America, is here now, which is crazy. And she's like she creates star portals or something like that. And then Strange Supreme pops up. You know, things just got out of hand, and it looks like he's in like a pocket. He looks like he's outside of the universe a little bit. So I think that part of What If is going to be real from the perspective of Strange Supreme, and that's the Strange Supreme from the What If, but I think in a different way, in that our Doctor Strange is going to Strange Supreme for help, and Strange Supreme ends up helping out Doctor Strange try to deal with the multiverse of madness. So I think that's what's happening with Strange Supreme. I don't think he's a bad guy in this. I think he's actually going to be more good than a villain. I think Mordo's going to be a villain. Wanda may end up being a villain. Gargantos is clearly a villain, and you know, Namor could come over from that, because that brings up like this Illuminati stuff. I did a little quick research on that, so it's possible that type of stuff is going to take place, or will take place in future events, future movies or TV shows. But I think Strange Supreme ends up being an ally to Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness. And all this stuff that Strange has been doing has been breaking apart the universe. With the Time Stone and Infinity Stones, one being given up and then two being completely destroyed, that breaks reality, as the Ancient One said in Infinity War. Strange using the Time Stone the way he did in Infinity War. Thanos snapping his fingers and erasing people in Infinity War, and then Tony Stark reversing that in Endgame. And then Spider-Man's erase people's memories, cracking the multiverse, and then of course Loki solidifying, breaking and collapsing the multiverses almost into one, essentially, where now there's just free reigns, and Kang the Conqueror and all that type of stuff's gonna be popping up. Strange has had the biggest influence on all this happening, although you could argue He Who Remains, or that version of Kang being killed, was also a big factor. Strange has been somewhat tearing at the universes with his power, as well as Wanda with her pocket reality creation with Westview and WandaVision. So a lot of this is starting to come full steam ahead now, and we're starting to get to see the fruits of what these TV shows and previous movies and the whole previous 10-year saga we had start to play out now with Spider-Man No Way Home, WandaVision, Loki. You know, I haven't seen the Eternals yet, but I'm guessing we might get some of that in the Eternals to some degree as well. And then now, with the next movie coming up, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So 9.5 out of 10 for No Way Home. As I said, some of the plot holes or some of the reasoning why we had certain villains come over when we could have potentially even used other villains. I think that was my only knock on it, was those things, and the fact that if you're gonna tease Daredevil, you could at least tease the suit or something letting us know, like, for real he's gonna be here. And we got to see his power, so that's, you know, catching the brick, which was beautiful. But it's just small stuff like that that was just enough to knock it down 0.5. But 9.5 out of 10 is still excellent by far. Infinity War and Endgame, 10 out of 10. I wish that would have been one solid viewing experience where we watch that for legitimately like 6 hours. We get like an hour intermission in between, but it's like one movie. It's like Titanic. It's just like one movie, like 2 discs or something. Like, I feel like Infinity War and Endgame should have been that, and then No Way Home could easily be number 2. But as it is, Infinity War, Endgame, No Way Home are my top 3, followed by Civil War and, dare I say, Winter Soldier. I think those are my top 5. You know, Iron Man, of course, is amazing, it's great. But in terms of the movies that we saw and the impact, I mean, come on, man, you can't deny those. I mean, I would almost even argue, for me, Age of Ultron, the way that set up Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, like, that set up so much in terms of the Avengers and the MCU that should get way more respect and should be top 5. To me, it's probably top 10 out of, you know, the movies we've gotten so far, but definitely those top 5 is probably what I mentioned. So let me know down in the comment section below what you guys thought about Spider-Man No Way Home. Have you seen it yet? Are you going, have you saw it? What do you think about it? What do you think about Doctor Strange 2? Let me know down in the comment section below. But again, as always, you guys haven't already, make sure you guys ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that way you never miss my videos. Then we can sit back, chillax, see what's cracking. But your man Visceral signing out until the next video. Pew, 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 pew. Wait for it.